Good morning, students. This time, we will be having our new topic for our online class that will be community immersion. But before that, before we proceed with our topics, for our attendance or for your attendance today, I want you to comment your name on this video in the comment section. Please comment your name and your time schedule because I will be checking your attendance to make sure that you have watched our video lecture today. Right? So we have our new topic, community immersion. Let me just put up my slide. Okay, there we go. So the community immersion. Now, what is community immersion? Now, community immersion is actually one of the important requirements in order for you to graduate in NSTP 2. So community immersion is required even if you are enrolled in a private or ano ba yung tawag dyan? Public higher institution, or even if technical vocational yung course mo, still you are required to take up NSTP 2 and undergo community immersion. So hindi lang po CWTS ang may community immersion, but LTS and ROTC also have community immersion. So ano ba yung main goal ni community immersion? Okay, let's look at the definition of community immersion. By the way, class, this is actually required under RA 9163 and Section 7. So what is community immersion? Is a strategy in community organizing that is sought to imbibe among the NSCP trainees a better understanding and realization of the different community concerns. So anong gagawin niyo dito? You will be identifying different concerns in the environment, different problems in the community, so that you'll be able to understand and realize the different actual situations in the real world or in the community, so that you will be able to expose yourself in those concerns, in those problems, so that you will be able to help these recipients. At sino ba yung mga recipients natin dito? We have the deprived, the depressed, and the unprivileged or the DDU communities. So sila yung mga deprived, ibig sabihin kulang yung kanilang mga resources, pwedeng they are a recipient of different calamities, pwedeng ganon. Okay, so that is community immersion. So ano ba yung main goal ni community immersion? Community immersion is a strategy of transforming this DDU or the deprived, depressed, and unprivileged communities and trainees into this what we call self-sustaining ones as meant for others, which imbued with good citizenship values. Ano ba yung mga good citizenship values natin? The makatao, the makadiyos, the makabayan, and makakalikasan cluster. So, kaya natin ginagawa ang community immersion so that we'll be able to help these DDU communities wherein they could stand for themselves na. Ayan. Let's move on. Okay. Another definition of community immersion. It is aimed at developing among student trainees through the training program. So ang tawag po sa inyo as NSTP student or trainees, their appreciation of rendering community works. So meaning you're going to make community projects for different community concerns, which is quite essential in affording for them the opportunity to experience and put themselves in real life situation. So to immerse yourself, from the word immersion, to immerse, meaning to put yourself in the real life situation, and which na yung community na mapipili ninyo. So that depends upon your group kung ano yung community na mapipili ninyo. But later this March, second week of March, you will have your immersion. Okay. Let's move on. Now, let's talk about the dimensions of development along the CWTS components of the program. Kasi, maraming dimensions itong si community immersion. So, we have education. So under sa education, dyan ang mga recipients dyan, yung mga schools or yung mga bata sa kalye na hindi marunong magbasa, in LTS, pwede nga mag-conduct ng reading programs doon. Ano pa? Pwede ka mag-conduct ng feeding program for the different schools under education or peer mentoring. Pwede yan dyan under educations. Health. Under health, in the community. So, ano ba yung mga concerns in the community with regards to health? Then, pwede niyo yung gamitin as dimensions in making your immersion or in making your community projects health. Ano ba yung mga problema? Let's say, for example, yung proper hygiene. So, pwede kayong mag-conduct ng seminars or symposiums with regards to health concerns. Ano pa? Safety and disaster management. So, ano ba yung mga common disasters dito sa ating province? We have earthquake. We have a little bit of flooding. We also have, what else? May mga landslide din tayo pero konti lang. Okay, so of course, ang fire andyan yan always. So tuturo yan sa different communities how to be prepared in different disaster and how to manage disasters and how to keep yourself safe during disasters. Ano pa? Sports and recreation. So part pa rin siya ng dimensions of development ng CWTS, sports and recreation. Kasi in certain communities, pwede kayo mag-conduct ng sports training, mga ganun. Pwede yan siya. Environmental services. You can do tree plantings, solid waste management programs, and other environmental services na pwede niyo pang gawin. So, you can conduct projects or symposiums on that. Ano pa? Entrepreneurship and livelihood. So, kasama din yan siya. So, in a certain communities, pwede nyo silang turuan na mag-business so that they will have source of income and they will be able to stand for themselves. They can provide for themselves kasi may trabaho sila. So, that is one, entrepreneurship and livelihood. Ano pa? Morals of citizenry and other social general welfare concerns. So, pwede nyo rin siyang ituro, like, uh, citizenship values, patriotism, ano pa ba? O pwede din kayo mag-conduct ng parental guidance, parenting seminars, pwede yan siya. Don't worry because we will have your trainings in different subject in different dimensions of CWTS naman. And I am discussing the different dimensions naman in our regular class. So you don't need to worry because I'm sorry. You don't need to worry because you can look for different partners in making your projects or in making your programs. It doesn't mean na kayo lang yung gagawa niyan. You can look for certain partners like our DSWD, our LGU, or the fire department or the PDEA. You can invite them as resource speakers in your projects. What else? Let's move on. So, let's talk about the objectives of NSTP Community Immersion. So, ano ba yung goal ng NSTP Community Immersion? Okay, so the first one is to define community immersion as an approach and strategy of developing projects and serving people and communities. So it is a way of implementing projects so that we'll be able to serve people in the community. So the DDU in the community. Ano pa? The goal is to enrich knowledge and competencies on community immersion, a process for development. So if there is immersion, there is development. Hindi lang para sa mga trainees ng NSTP, but of course, to the community, the recipient community, there is development. So this enables to enrich the knowledge of the people and the trainees. Ano pa? Apply the principles and concepts of working in the community through immersion projects and activities. So yung mga principles and concepts na pinag-uusapan natin, you will be able to implement that in a real life situation through immersion by implementing projects and different activities. Okay, ano pa? Expose NSTP trainees in depressed, deprived, and unprivileged communities and marginalized groups of our society. So, kailangan ma-expose kayo in different people in the community, especially itong mga depressed, deprived, and unprivileged. So that you will be able to understand their situation na rin. And we'll be able to help them in solving their problems. Or kung hindi man talaga kayang isolve ang problem kasi we cannot solve everything, we can mitigate their problems or we can alleviate their problems in life. Okay, what else? Appreciate the values of community immersion as a means of developing themselves as citizens and helping people improve their way of life and alleviating their living conditions. So ano ba ito? Ma-appreciate natin yung mga values when it comes to makatao, makabayan, ano pa, makakalikasan, and makadiyos. So those values of community immersion as a means of developing themselves as citizens. So you will be able to develop yourself as citizens and as an SCP student. Kasi 'di ba, nagsi-start ang development ng isang country within its people. So if you start to develop yourself, you are also helping the country. Kasi pag na-elevate na yung living conditions mo, you will not be a burden to the society itself. Therefore, you are helping the community or you are helping the country. That is the importance of appreciating the values of community immersion so that you'll able to instill in your heart the spirit of voluntarism, the spirit of helping other people so that you can elevate their life. Okay? Next, enhance civic consciousness and defense preparedness. So, yung consciousness natin when it comes to serving the people, madedevelop yan. And defense preparedness for our OTC when it comes to different national security threats, di ba? We're going to talk about that. Ano pa? Develop ethics and service imbued with good citizenship values. So we're going to talk about the morals and how to imbue those morals in servicing the people and uh, instilling the good citizenship in our minds, in our heart, and develop holistic education. Not just for the trainees, but also for the DDU communities. Okay, naalala niyo pa yung good citizenship values natin? Yun. Okay, let's move on. Okay, let's talk about understanding the concept and principles of community immersion. Now, people involved in community immersion must be knowledgeable on the basis of community. So dapat, as trainees, bago kayong maging involved in community immersion, you should be knowledgeable enough ano yung mga basics about community immersion. Ano yung mga meaning niya, yung concepts, underpinning principles, and nature of problems and issues arising therefrom. So, malalaman niyo yan. So, pag-uusapan natin yan. That's why we are having our discussion first before we are going to deploy you in the community. Yan. So, let's proceed. So, what is a community? Ano ba yung community? A community is a collective of people with similar interests and goals, whether living in the same geographic locality or not. Okay, so ano ba yung community? A group of people with the same interest. So meaning, in that certain community, pareho sila ng values, pareho sila ng mga interest. Ang community, hindi lang siya mako-consider na within that locality or within that geographical area. Pwede din na ang community is in different places. What I mean is that yung member of that community is pwedeng hindi lang in a certain area, but they have the same interest of people or the same values, then they can consider themselves as a community. Let's say, for example, ano bang community? The community of nurses all over the globe. Pwede yun siya. That is a community. The community of reporters. Pwede ganon. As long as they have the same interests and goals, you can consider themselves as a community. Okay, ano pa? Okay. This definition is actually according to Arlene Johnson, itong community. Okay, so there are certain types of community in a recent times. Some refer to it just a social movement kasi nga hindi naman siya geographically located. So, yan yung mga modern forms of community. Kasi dati yung standard of definition lang ng community is yung locality lang in a certain area. But ngayon, if you have the same interests and goals with that person, then you can consider yourselves as a community. A community of believers, pwedeng ganun. Okay, what else? What are the elements of community? Ano ba yung mga elements ng community? So, what are the parts of a community? Okay, or what is within the community? So we have demographics, we have history, we have culture, economy, and structures. So before you are going to immerse yourself in that community, you have to know first their demographics. Ano yung demographics ng community na yan? What are the history of the community? What is the culture? What is the economy of the community? And the structures of the community. What else? Eto. Okay, let's discuss it one by one. Okay. So let's start with demographics. So ano bang demographics? Demographics is the characteristics of population. So it tells about the movement of the population in the community that you will serve. So we have to survey kung ano ba yung mga age bracket ng population na yan, ano bang mas marami, mas matanda, mas bata, or ano bang mas marami dyan, may mga trabaho, walang trabaho. So that is demographics, characteristic of the population. Okay, the second one is history. Okay, so history allows you to identify certain patterns of change and people's way of adapting to these changes that can be useful in plotting your activities. So example niyan, yung mga events of the past that contributed to the development of the community. So you have to know, bakit ganyan yung community na yan? Ano ba yung nangyari dyan? What is the history? So hindi mo basta-basta i-judge yung community na yan kaagad. So you have to know what is the history of that community, which is that leads to the development or undevelopment of that community. So ayan, you have to know the history of the community. Okay, what else? Okay, let's move on to culture. What is culture? Ways of living of the people. Ano ba yung kultura ng mga tao dyan? What is their culture? Let's say, for example, ano ba yung culture nila dyan? Are they fond of proper hygienes? Or let's say, ano ba yung mga basta yun, culture. Their belief. Ano ba yung paniniwala nila dyan? That is culture. Okay, next is economy. What is economy? Their income level, occupation of the people. So, ano yung ekonomiya nila? Ilan yung annual income ng mga tao dyan? Ano yung mga kadalasan, trabaho ng mga naninirahan in that community? So, you have to know that and their economy. And the last one is the structure. Ano yung structure ng community na yan? Their physical, political, and social structures. Ano ba yung mga political structure ng community? Let's say, for example, if that is an indigenous community, ano ba yung political belief nila dyan when it comes to their social structures, mga ganun. Okay, so that is the elements of a community. So you have to first know that the 5 elements before you are going to start your analysis on that uh, community. Okay. Next, why is immersion an important approach strategy in giving service to the communities? Okay, through community immersion, hindi ko makita ang slides ko, i-move muna ha. Okay, through community immersion, trainees will be exposed in further and other realities of life which they may or may not belong to. So ano yan siya? So kasi through community immersions, you as trainees, ma-expose kayo further sa mga realities of life. So ano ba talaga yung nangyayari sa totoong buhay? You're able to discover what is the realities of life. Wherein hindi ka man nabilong. Let's say, for example, if pinanganak ka with a golden spoon, then you does not belong to the DDU group, then at least ma-expose ka in that community na malalaman mo, there are still people struggling in this world. You that you are lucky enough to have a parents na, you know, nagapaningkamot and everything, unlike other people na kahit though gapaningkamot man sila, still lacking ang kanilang uh, income. So they are underprivileged people. Okay, so if golden spoon ka, then pasalamatan natin yan. Okay, that your parents are able to provide your needs. Okay, let's move on. Now let's talk about the significance of community immersion. What is the significance of immersion and the purview of education? So this is under the perspective of education. So anong sabi dito? Experience is the best teacher. So in order for you to learn, the best way to learn is to experience those things. Ano pang sabi dyan? To understand how the people feel, think, say, and behave as dictated by their conditions and situations, and life as a means to make feel and realize that they are more fortunate than many others, and that the students can do something to improve the lives of the marginalized and underprivileged. So meaning, you are lucky enough that you are studying here in our school and you have the means to sustain your education. So meaning you have the ability to help other people. And so ano ba yung meron ka sa kamay mo na pwede mong ibigay sa ibang tao? And that is experience is the best teacher. So para maintindihan mo kung ano talaga yung nangyayari sa buhay nila, kasi minsan we just judge other people without putting ourselves in their shoes, right? That's why empathy is very important. Putting oneself in the shoes of others. Okay, so that is under the perspective of education. Now let's move on to the significance of community immersion and the purview of religious perspective. Now, ano naman yung perspective ni religious with regards to community immersion? So sabi dito, too much given, much is required. Okay. Therefore, since students have been given the rare opportunity and the distinct privilege of being schooled, that they are supposed to better the living conditions of those who were not as auspicious as they are. As one of the objectives of this book expound, trainees will be exposed and further in other realities of life which they may or may not belong to. So, ibig sabihin, you are lucky enough to have blessings na wherein you are able to study and you can have your needs and your wants unlike other people which is underprivileged. So you have the ability to help these people to better their living conditions kahit ma-alleviate man lang ng konti. Okay? Kasi God has given you blessings, therefore you must share those blessings to other people, to the underprivileged people. Okay? Let's move on. Okay, let's look at the purview of the legal basis naman tayo. Ano naman ang perspective ni legal basis dito kay community immersion? So what is the relevancy of the immersion part of the NSTP program? So the answer to this sort of question is provided in the NSTP Act and has served as the mandate in the core of recognizing the role of the youth in the nation building. So you have a role as youth in building our nation. Young people are vested with the obligation to defend the security of the state, and in fulfillment thereof, the government may require its citizen to render personal, military, or civic yan siya. So, sorry, civic service. Okay. So, ibig sabihin, if you are ROTC, you are required to render personal military service. But if you are a CWTS student, you are required to render civic service. So, that is the importance why you must immerse yourself in the community. Kasi if there are times na, kasi after this, you will be graduating, you are considered as NSRC. Reservist na kayo ng NSRC. So therefore, pwede kayong i-pull out ng ating government when it comes to humanitarian efforts. Kailangan nila ng uh, mga tao. And if there are threat to national security and kailangan i-pull out ang mga ROTC students, then mangyayari talaga yan. That is relevancy of immersion part of the NSTP program. Okay, let's move on. Ito pa, this question. Why would trainees need to study the behavior of the people and that which compose the community of which they serve? So, under Section 2 of the NSTP Act of 2001, anong sabi dyan? Whether in times of peace or war, simply put, aside from becoming socially aware of the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of their communities, trainees are believed to possess the qualities and energies. So, ibig sabihin, you have the quality and energy that is properly channeled and directed. So, if that is properly channeled and directed, that will yield to a result towards arresting, if not totally annihilating the innumerable dilemmas of man. So, pwedeng ma-mitigate, pwedeng ma-lessen, or pwede totally ma-annihilate yung mga problems in the community if you help in the DDU communities through community immersion. Okay, let's move on. Ito pa, this question. Are trainees young as they are capable of responding to the stringent requirement of community building and meeting the skills and knowledge criteria of transforming communities? So, as young as you are, do you think you are capable of doing community immersion? Yes, of course, definitely yes. The role of the youth in national or local development cannot be overemphasized. Ano nga sabi to enforce this? This is the words of Dr. Jose Rizal. The youth is the hope of the fatherland. So, ang kabataan ang pag-asa ng bayan. Therefore, as a youth of this generation, you should help in the nation building. Ibig sabihin yan, you have to immerse yourself in the community. Implement those core values of the Philippines. Okay. What else? This question. Okay, I just repeat it next. Okay. What is community immersion? Community community commercializing NSTP is devised as a strategy in molding and conscientizing student just so that they may be socially aware and responsible of their communities. So you have a conscience to be responsible within your communities. So kung saan communities mo kayo na belong and where barangays, then you do your part in helping your community, not be a burden of the community itself. Okay. The nature of immersion efforts done is along the dimensions of but not limited to. Ibig sabihin, there are different dimensions of community immersions. Pero hindi lang siya limited dito. Pwede pa siyang dagdagan. We have education, we have health, safety, education, sports and recreation, environmental services, entrepreneurship, morals of citizenry, and other social welfare concerns. So yan yung mga dimensions na pwede nyo gamitin in planning your projects or your CIP or the community involvement portfolio. Okay. Okay, let's talk about immersion guides. Malapit na tayo matapos. Immersion guides. The trainees should immerse in Apple community life, ample community life to get to know the social, political, and economic situation of the people. So, immerse mo muna yung sarili mo in the community to know yung kanilang demographics, yung kanilang political and economic situation, kanilang culture, yan. Trainees may also undergo certain changes like increase in knowledge about the social realities, development of good values, empathy towards other people, and improvement of social skills among others. So that's why we are having different trainings muna and symposiums before you're going to have your community immersion so that you will be able to gain knowledge on how to do these things and you'll be able to implement and impart those knowledge to other people or to the community. Trainees should identify the community's people, interests, and aspirations. So ano ba yung mga interest ng mga tao dyan sa community na yan? And ano yung mga gusto nilang i-achieve in that community? So you can use that one as your source in implementing your projects. Ano pa? Trainees must recognize people's resiliency in this not rob them of their right to have community participation and determination of appropriate course of action. Meaning, as a immersion students or as immersion trainees, hindi dapat na all the time you will just give. Dapat you will teach them. So sabi nga 'di ba, teach a man how to fish and he will live for a lifetime. So dapat turuan nyo sila kung paano, not just feed them. So you have to train them, teach them, not to not rob them of the right to have community participation. So dapat mas marami yung kanilang participation than you. So you are just a facilitator. Ano pa? Trainees should be aware of the gain negotiated sanctions, the acceptance derived from community relations coupled with the right to conduct immersion activities. So, ibig sabihin, you follow what is the guidelines in implementing immersion activities. We're going to talk about the do's and don'ts naman of community immersion later, maybe next meeting. Trainees must reflect on how their social analysis of the current situation is concretized and community people's life. The analysis should have a much meaning for the trainees as for the community. So meaning yung mga analysis nyo, magiging more important siya for you as trainees than the community. So that you can implement projects for the community. Okay. What else? Forms of integration and in community immersion. So, paano ka mag-integrate ng sarili mo in the community immersion? Paano? Pwede kang mag-home visit. Bisitahin mo yung mga families in the community na recipients mo. Pwede mo silang bisitahin. Living with selected families, preferably with key informants. So, pwedeng adapt a family, mga ganon, living with selected families. Informal discussions with individuals of groups. So even if magkwento-kwento lang kayo dyan, informal discussions, pwede na yan. Integrate. Kilalanin lang man sila. That is one way of knowing other people, to talk to them and discuss informal things with them. So dyan man talaga yan nag-uumpisa. Ano pa? Sharing in household and community activities such as cooking with the community and cleanup drive. That is one way of immersing to the community. You help them like doing feeding programs, cleanup drives, pwede yan siya. Attendance in social gatherings such as fiestas. So if may mga fiesta in that community, pwede kang mag-attend. I don't know if still applicable sa inyo, but during our time, when there are fiestas, grabe talaga yung mga kabataan noon mag-attend talaga kasi sa time namin, nabutan pa namin yung um, mga ano yun, tawag doon? Baile, disco, mga ganun. Okay, so that is one way of uh, taking in attendance in social gatherings such as fiestas, weddings, and others, or many more. Next, assistance in production work such as selling, farming, and others. So, pwede yan siya. Tumulong ka sa kanila sa pagbebenta ng kanilang mga products or even if sa pagtatanim ng kanilang mga crops in that community. So, pwede yan siya. That is one way of immersing yourself in the community. Kung paano mo i-integrate yung sarili mo to that community or to that group of people. Next, whom do you immerse in the community? So, sino yung i-immerse mo sa community? When one goes to a community, he associates with the people whom he intend to work with as partners. Ibig sabihin partners or allies in the community such as the parents, pwede yan siya kasi stakeholders, the youth, the differently abled constituent professionals, so pwede yan sila as your partners, members of people's organization, and other formal and informal group and other who can be a potential collaborator of your project or activities. So, di ba, if may mga projects ka mo or activities na gagawin, you can use those uh, partners to help you in implementing those projects. So, pwede yan siya, you can ask for help in the DSWD, LGUs, or other non-government organizations na alam ninyo. Kasi you are building your, you are not just building community, you are also building your, what we call this one, your, ano ba yan? Your relationship with other people so that if there are problems later on, may tatakbuhan ka talaga. So we do not just work for and serve the people, but rather we encourage their participation. So yan yung in-emphasize ko kanina. Dapat hindi lang na always lang kayo ang mag-feed. Dapat may participation din ang community. So you teach them how to stand for themselves. Okay, let's move on. So what conditions may qualify one to go into community immersion? So sino ang mga qualified na pwedeng mag-conduct ng community immersion? So actually everyone is qualified to do community immersions, but not everyone is doing it. Okay, but who is most qualified? So training wise, community developers, organizations, and social workers are most qualified. Sila yung most qualified because it is assumed that they have more or less formal background in carrying out this kinds of undertaking. Kasi may mga formal training yan sila. May, they have complete knowledge in doing this work. That is community developers, organization, and social workers. The next one are the volunteers in social organization and movement also undertake immersions. They undergo professional training and development work. Such immersion typically proceeds to organizing work. So yung mga volunteers natin na nag-undergo ng training, pwede din yan sila mag-conduct ng community immersion. But as for you, NSTP students enrolled in CWTS NSTP2 or LTS2 are mandated to undergo community immersion for a period covering a minimum of 54 hours to a maximum of 90 hours aside that aside from that, that is from the CHED prescribed program of instruction. Mhm. So required kayo to do community immersion minimum of 54 hours and maximum of 90 hours. Okay, ano pa? What personal gains may a student get from community immersion? So what are the benefits na makukuha ninyo in doing community immersion? Okay, the first one is opportunity for the trainees to comprehend people's lives. So makomprehend mo yung mga hanap buhay ng ibang tao or yung buhay nila. Because of the chance given to them to see real life situations, live, identify, and associate with the people they're in. Therefore, hindi ka na basta-basta mag-judge ng ibang tao. Kasi alam mo kung anong sitwasyon talaga nila sa buhay. Kasi na-experience mo siya. Naranasan mo. Okay, gain social acceptance derived from community relations coupled with the right to offer services. Ibig sabihin, pwede ka na offer ng different services to this community kasi meron ka ng knowledge. Okay, enhance experiences in conducting asset mapping such as identifying geographic coverage, point out resource and use, and the relationship of people with the existing resources. So after mag-immersion, meron ka ng skills na ganyan. Kaya mo nang identify yung mga geographic coverage, ano yung mga areas in the community na kailangan ng attention, ano yung mga problema in the community, and how to solve those problems. Okay, I think it's Finish yan siya. Finish report in relationship with different people who may be help to them in some future time. Okay. So, ibig sabihin, yung mga writings mo in your community immersion, that will be helpful to other people in the future time. So if they have encountered the same problem in the community as you have experienced, then that will be beneficial to those people. That's why importante yan na i-share mo yung data mo. Okay, next. Develop their consent is a consentialization ability. It helps them realize issues that will help solve problems in the community. It is important for them to do something that can change their situation. So yeah, there is development. Ano pa? Acquire first-hand experiences in dealing with community work and the chance to learn life skills that will enrich and better their person. So iba 'di ba ang feeling pag you are helping other people. Iba yung pakiramdam sa puso. That is very important. So isa yan sa mga benefits na makukuha mo in doing community immersion. So hindi yan mapapalitan ng pera. The gratitude of the people na nag-serve ka sa kanila. Okay. So that is the last slide. That ends our topic for community immersions for this meeting. Because next meeting, we'll talk about the do's and don'ts of doing community immersion. Ano ba yung mga pwede natin gawin at ano yung mga hindi natin pwedeng gawin in community immersion. So pag-uusapan natin yan. Okay, so that's it for today. And reminders for you, always wear your complete uniform in coming to our class. Don't be late. Okay lang ma-late kahit basta maximum of 15 minutes. But wag always, ano pa, especially special mention sa mga students dyan na naglalaro ng, you know, in our class. I am taking note of that. I am very observant of you. So please take note of that. Okay, what else? Ano pa ba? Okay, so this time there will be no activities for this topic. Wala muna tayong activity, but I will be checking your attendance. Please write your name and your schedule on the comment section of this video. Ano pa? Okay, we will continue our reporting on our regular face-to-face classes. So, there is no reason na hindi pa kayo nakapag-prepare ng inyong mga reports. So, please be prepared in doing your report. Okay? Already have your groupings. So, that groupings will be your group until the end of the semester. And that is also the group for your CIP. Okay? So, that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining our lecture this today na lang kasi I don't know if what time you are viewing this video kasi there are different schedules for different courses. So, ayan. So, have a great weekend and let's see each other on Monday and Tuesday. So, Monday for the MWF and Tuesday for the TTHS. Okay, so nice to see you, everybody. Goodbye and God bless.